Alright guys, this one's gonna piss you off in the best way possible. Let's get into it. I need to start this by saying that 3 months ago, my marriage was good. Like, actually good. Not Instagram perfect, but real. The kind where you steal fries off each other's plates and fall asleep watching trashy TV. Jake and I had been married for 3 years. And, yeah, we had our shit. But we were solid. Jake's a sous chef at this upscale restaurant called Monarch. The kind of place where people propose and spend a month's rent on tasting menus. He's been grinding his way up from line cook for 5 years. The man is passionate about food in a way that used to make me laugh. He'd come home at midnight smelling like butter and thyme, and I'd pretend to be asleep just so he'd kiss my forehead before crashing. I manage a brunch spot called Bloom. It's trendy, Instagram famous, the kind of place where people wait an hour for avocado toast. My staff is mostly younger, early 20s, fresh out of college, extremely online. I'm only 29, but sometimes I feel ancient around them. They're constantly talking about therapy and boundaries and their podcast recommendations. It's exhausting, but also kind of validating. Like they look up to me. Things started shifting in early September. Jake's restaurant was gearing up for this massive tasting event. VIPs, food critics, rumors of a Michelin scout. He was working 14-hour days, coming home wrecked. I tried to be supportive. I'd text him encouragements, tell him I was proud of him. He seemed grateful, but distant, which I guess made sense. The Thursday of the event, I told him I'd stop by to see him in action. Here's where I messed up. My friends Becca and Jess wanted to come. Becca's the server at my place with like 50,000 Instagram followers. She posts relationship advice reels that get insane engagement. Jess bartends and has a women's studies minor, so she's always dropping terms like emotional labor and weaponized incompetence. They're fun, you know? We drink wine and talk shit, and they make me feel less alone in this whole being married in your 20s thing. So the three of us showed up at Monarch around 3. The place was controlled chaos, Jake in his chef's whites, barking orders, completely focused. It was actually kind of hot seeing him like that. But Becca and Jess were loud, taking boomerangs of the kitchen, laughing, asking Jake to pose with them. I could see his jaw tighten. After maybe 10 minutes, he came over, polite but firm. Hey, I'd love to hang, but we're in the middle of service prep. Maybe grab a drink at the bar and I'll come say hi when we're done? Becca's face changed, like he'd slapped her. Oh, okay. The energy was just wrong. We left, and the whole Uber ride back, they were going off about how unwelcoming he was, how he treated them like an inconvenience. And I sat there, stewing, letting them plant seeds. By the time Jake got home that night, exhausted, proud because the event went well, I was ready for a fight. He walked in smiling, and I was sitting on the couch with my arms crossed. You embarrassed me in front of my friends today. His face fell. What? I was in the middle of prep. You treated them like they were bothering you. They came to support you, Jake. Mia, we had a Michelin scout potentially in the room. I couldn't just stop and... So your job is more important than making my friends feel welcome. He was too tired to fight. You're right. I'm sorry. I should have handled it better. I wanted him to push back, to defend himself. Instead, he just apologized and went to the bedroom. I sat on the couch, feeling hollow, like I'd won something I didn't actually want to win. He didn't kiss me goodnight. That was the first time in 3 years he'd just gone to bed without touching me, and instead of asking myself why I'd picked a fight, I told myself he was being cold. That night was when everything changed. I just didn't know it yet. The thing about my friends, Becca especially, is that they're really good at making you feel like you're seeing things clearly for the first time. That's what the next 2 weeks felt like. The Friday after the kitchen incident, we had our usual girls' night at Bloom. We close at 3 on weekends, so we'd lock up and break out the wine. Morgan was there too. She's another server, 25, engaged to this guy who's like a golden retriever in human form. I was venting about Jake. He just made them feel so unwelcome, like I was interrupting his important work or something. Becca leaned forward. Girl, that's a red flag. He was controlling the space. Jess nodded. That's actually a classic power move. He embarrassed you to assert dominance. They never think they are, Morgan said, pulling out her phone. My fiancé used to do subtle shit like that. I had to train him out of it. Train him? The phrase stuck with me. Becca started scrolling through her Instagram saved folder, this whole collection of relationship infographics. She showed me one. Marriage doesn't mean consent is automatic. Your body, your choice. Always. You need to set clear boundaries, Becca said. Like, he doesn't just get to touch you whenever he wants. I felt something twist in my chest. We're married. It's not like he's... Marriage doesn't erase the need for consent, Jess cut in. That's literally our word culture. Our word culture. The words landed heavy. I thought about Jake reaching for my hand during movies, pulling me close in the morning, initiating sex without a formal discussion because we'd been together for years. Suddenly, it all looked different through this lens they were handing me. Try this, Becca said. Tell him you need verbal consent before physical touch. See how he reacts. Since he misbehaved, it's time to put him in his place and take away the one thing he probably needs most from you. Morgan nodded. If he pushes back or gets defensive, you'll know he's toxic. Part of me knew it was insane, but another part, the part that was still hurt about the kitchen thing, wanted to see what would happen. Over the next week, I pulled away. Jake tried to hug me from behind while I made coffee one morning, and I stiffened. Can you not right now? I'm busy. He looked hurt. Sorry, just wanted to say good morning. Later that week, we were watching Netflix and he reached for my hand. I pulled away. I'm just not in the mood for touching right now. His confusion was all over his face, but I was testing him, waiting to see if he'd fight for me. Instead, he just gave me space, which somehow made me angrier. 2 weeks after the kitchen incident, we were in bed. He leaned in to kiss me, naturally, the way he'd done 1,000 times before, and I put my hand on his chest and stopped him. Jake, we need to talk about consent. What? The words came out rehearsed because they were. I need you to ask for verbal consent before any physical touch. That includes kissing, hugging, sex, all of it. Mia, we're married. I always pay attention to whether you're into it. That's not the same as affirmative consent. I need you to actually ask. He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Then quietly, okay, if that's what you need. I expected more. An argument, a refusal, something. Instead, he just rolled over. I felt vindicated and hollow at the same time. The next 3 weeks were torture. Jake tried. God, he really tried. Every morning, can I kiss you goodbye? And I'd say yes, but something about him asking made it feel clinical, weird. One evening, he asked, can I hold your hand? And I said, I guess, which made him not do it at all. That night in bed, can I touch you? And I snapped, do you have to make it weird? His face just shut down. I'm making it weird? Mia, this was your rule. I didn't have a response to that. I found out later that he'd vented to Marcus, the head chef at Monarch. Marcus said, brother, that's not consent, that's control. But at the time, Jake defended me. Even when I was making him jump through hoops, he was still trying to protect me. I didn't deserve it. 4 weeks in, Jake stopped asking. But before he stopped, he tried one more time to understand what was happening. It was a Tuesday night. I was scrolling through Instagram when he sat down next to me, not touching, keeping that careful distance. Mia, can we talk? Like, actually talk? I didn't look up from my phone. About what? About this. About us. You've been different since the night I asked your friends to leave the kitchen. Did I do something else? Because I feel like I'm walking through a minefield and I don't even know where the mines are. His voice was so sincere, it made my chest tight. This was my chance to be honest, to tell him I'd been listening to my friends instead of trusting him, to admit I was testing him for no reason. Instead, I lashed out. God, Jake, do you always have to make everything about you? Maybe I just need space. Maybe I'm tired of you pawing at me whenever you feel like it. Did you ever think that maybe I'm just not that into you touching me all the time? The words hung in the air like poison. His face did something I'd never seen before. Just completely shut down. Not angry. Worse. Resigned. Okay, he said quietly. I hear you. He stood up, went to the guest room, and that was the last time he tried to understand. The next morning, he started going to the gym before work. He didn't make an announcement or pick a fight. He just stopped. No more, "Can I kiss you?" He was polite, cordial. Like I was a roommate he respected but didn't particularly want to touch. He started sleeping in the guest room to give me space. Stopped initiating conversations beyond, "How was your day?" I noticed immediately. But I'd backed myself into a corner, hadn't I? I'd set a boundary, and he was respecting it, so why did this feel so wrong? 6 weeks after I'd set the boundary, Jake and I were living like strangers. We had a routine. He made coffee, I'd mumble thanks, we'd move around each other like dancers who'd forgotten why we were dancing. No touch, barely any eye contact, definitely no warmth. The panic was constant now, but I couldn't admit it out loud, especially not to my friends. They'd praised me so much for setting boundaries that backing down felt like failing. Another girls' night at Bloom, same crew, same wine, different crisis. "So things are better," I said, trying to sound casual. "Jake's been really respectful of my boundaries." Becca tilted her head. "Has he been distant?" "A little, but that's what I wanted, right?" Morgan leaned forward. "Wait, how long has it been since you guys had sex?" I did the math and felt sick. Like 6 weeks? "Oh my God, Mia." Jess's eyes went wide. "What? He's respecting my boundary." Becca grabbed my hand. "No, babe, he's failing the test." "What test?" "If he really loved you, he'd be fighting for you, pursuing you, proving he can't live without you." "The boundary isn't supposed to make him stop," Jess said. "It's supposed to make him try harder." I felt dizzy. "But I told him to ask for consent." "And a real man would ask, get rejected, and ask again the next day because he can't help himself," Becca said. "Jake's just giving up. That says something about his feelings, don't you think?" I drove home that night, their voices echoing in my head. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I'd convinced myself they were right. This was a test Jake was failing. That night, I found him in the guest room, reading. I sat on the edge of the bed. "I want to make sure we're clear about my boundary. I need verbal consent before any physical contact. No exceptions." Jake looked up, studying my face. "Mia, I've been following your rule for 6 weeks. What are you actually asking me?" I faltered. "I'm asking if you're committed to respecting my boundaries." "I am." He closed the book. "Is there anything else?" This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to push back, show some passion, something. Instead, calm compliance. "No, that's all." "Okay, good night, Mia." He went back to reading. I left and stood in the hallway, staring at the closed door. Inside my head, why won't he fight for me? The social media thing made it worse. I'd posted about my boundary journey 3 weeks earlier. An artsy photo of coffee cups with a caption about how healthy boundaries in marriage aren't selfish, they're necessary. Growth isn't always comfortable. It blew up. 200 likes, comments praising my communication skills. Becca reposted it with fire emojis. Someone commented, "Your husband is so lucky to have someone who communicates so well." Now I was trapped. How do you walk back a public declaration like that without admitting you were wrong? At work, the comparison game got worse. Morgan showed us her engagement photos, her fiancé staring at her adoringly. "He's so obsessed with me," she said, laughing. "Honestly, it's exhausting sometimes." Becca nodded. "That's how it should be. Men should worship their women." I thought about Jake's indifference. The sting of comparison was physical. That evening, I came home to find Jake cooking dinner. Just one portion. He didn't ask if I wanted any. "Did you eat?" Polite, distant. "I'll make something." We ate in separate rooms. The distance between us was so vast I couldn't see the other side anymore. Later, lying in our bed, just mine now, really, I felt the panic crystallize. I'm losing him. Not, we're having problems. Just, I'm losing him, and I don't know how to stop it. But stopping it meant admitting I was wrong, meant facing my friend's disappointment, meant deleting that Instagram post, meant telling Jake I'd been playing games with our marriage. So I didn't stop it. I doubled down, waited for him to break, to chase, to prove them wrong. He never did. 2 months after the boundary, Jake's phone buzzed during breakfast. We were doing our silent routine, him with black coffee, me with my phone, both of us experts at occupying the same space while being miles apart. I'm going fishing with the guys this weekend, back Sunday night. I looked up. What? We're supposed to go to Morgan's engagement party Saturday. You can still go. I'll be back Sunday. You didn't even ask me. I'm not asking permission to see my friends, Mia. He left before I could respond. Something about his tone, not angry, not defensive, just matter of fact, made my stomach drop. Old Jake would have checked with me first. This Jake just decided and moved forward. The weekend crawled by. I went to Morgan's party alone, made excuses about Jake being busy. His Instagram, which he never used, had a new post. Him and 3 guys around a campfire, beers in hand. Caption just said, "Needed this." One comment from someone named Chef Sarah, "Get it, chef." I felt something ugly twist in my chest. What I didn't know then was what happened on that trip. Jake told me months later during one of our therapy sessions. Saturday night, around the campfire, his buddy Marco asked, "So how's married life treating you?" Jake deflected. "Fine. Good. You know?" Dev, who'd known Jake since culinary school, wasn't buying it. "Bro, you've cancelled on us 6 times this year. You look exhausted. What's going on?" It took 2 more beers, but Jake finally broke. Not about the consent thing specifically, but about walking on eggshells. About feeling like nothing he did was right. About how the woman who used to laugh at his terrible jokes now looked at him like he was a problem to be solved. "When's the last time you felt like yourself?" Tony asked. Jake went quiet. Realized he couldn't remember. Marcus, the oldest of the group, said it straight. "You're afraid in your own house, man. That's not a marriage." Something shifted in Jake that night. His friends gave him permission to take up space again, to stop shrinking. By Sunday morning, cooking breakfast over the portable burner, laughing at stupid stories, Jake felt something he hadn't felt in months. Light. But I didn't know any of that then. I just saw the Instagram post and felt my stomach drop. Jake came back Sunday night, different. Not angry or cold, just clear. He had this energy about him, like he'd remembered something important about himself. "How was the trip?" "Great. We're doing a BBQ competition next month. I'm in." "That's the weekend of my mom's birthday dinner." "I know. I'm still going." The confidence in his voice was new. Old Jake would have apologized. This Jake stated facts and expected me to deal with them. Over the next few weeks, he was everywhere except with me. Monarch got serious Michelin buzz. Local magazine feature, Instagram posts showing his dishes, comments praising his technique. He started going to the gym before work, came home looking good. Really good. I noticed the changes in real time. His shoulders got broader. The softness around his middle disappeared. He'd come home from the gym with this glow. Endorphins, probably. And head straight to shower without saying much to me. One morning, I caught him in the kitchen making a protein shake. He was wearing a fitted t-shirt I'd never seen before. His arms looked different, defined. I realized with a jolt that he'd been hiding under chef's whites and loose hoodies for so long, I'd forgotten what his body actually looked like. "You look good," I said before I could stop myself. "Thanks." He didn't even look at me, just grabbed his gym bag and left. That stung more than if he'd ignored the compliment entirely. He'd heard me, acknowledged it, and felt nothing. I was just noise now. His Instagram became active, photos of plated dishes, team celebrations, him at industry events, comments from women I didn't know. "Incredible work, chef," and "When are you opening your own place?" I stalked his profile late at night, watched him becoming this version of himself that existed completely separate from me. He was glowing up, thriving, laughing in photos, just not with me. 3 months after the boundary, I decided to try something desperate. I waited in our bedroom wearing lingerie I'd bought specifically for this. Lights dimmed, candle lit. Jake walked in after his shift, stopped in the doorway, surprised. I thought maybe we could, Did you verbally consent to this? I blinked. What? Your boundary. You need to give me clear, enthusiastic, verbal consent before we proceed. Jake, I'm literally in lingerie. That's nonverbal. I need to hear you say it. The humiliation hit me like cold water. I consent. Are you sure? You don't seem enthusiastic. He was using my own rule, throwing it back at me with perfect, devastating calm. Yes, I'm sure. Can you just... We had sex. It was mechanical, distant, awful. The moment he finished, he got up. I'm going to shower and head to the guest room. Early shift tomorrow. He left me alone in bed in the stupid lingerie, feeling more alone than if he'd never touched me at all. I lay there for 20 minutes, listening to the shower run. When he came out, towel around his waist, I tried once more. Jake, can we talk about what just happened? He was already pulling on sweatpants. What's there to talk about? You consented. I respected your boundary. Isn't that what you wanted? That's not what But I couldn't finish. Because what could I say? That I wanted him to want me so badly he forgot about the rule? That I'd set up a test he was failing by following my instructions? I'm really tired, Mia. Early shift. He paused at the door. For just a second, I saw something flicker across his face. Not anger. Worse, pity. Good night. The guest room door clicked shut. I peeled off the lingerie, threw it in the trash, sat on the edge of our bed, my bed, and replayed the whole thing. The clinical way he'd asked for verbal consent, the mechanical rhythm, the immediate departure. He'd given me exactly what I asked for, and somehow it was the cruelest thing he could have done. I stared at the ceiling and understood. He wasn't playing a game. He was protecting himself. And worse, he hadn't even enjoyed it. The next girls' night, I was quiet. Becca noticed immediately. So, did he come around? He's different, distant. We had sex, but it was like he wasn't even there. Jess jumped in. That's passive-aggressive manipulation. Or maybe he's just done. Morgan's voice was small. Becca shot her a glare. I'm just saying, my fiancé went through something like this. Took months to rebuild trust. What did you do? I apologized, admitted I was wrong. Becca opened her mouth to argue, but I cut her off. Becca, can you just stop? This isn't working. Silence. I followed your advice, and now my husband won't even look at me. I was trying to help you set boundaries. You were trying to make me control him, and now I've lost him. I grabbed my purse and left. Outside, sitting in my car, I let myself cry. Not pretty crying, the kind where you can't breathe and sound like a dying animal. Because I knew the truth. Jake had found fulfillment somewhere else. Not another woman. Something worse. He'd found himself. The version that existed before I'd tried to make him smaller, more manageable, more controllable. And that version didn't need me at all. Saturday morning, 3 months after the boundary, I caught Jake making coffee before he left for BBQ prep. My heart was hammering. Jake, we need to talk. Like really talk. He sat down across from me, face neutral. Okay. I know things have been off. I want to drop the boundary. Go back to how we were. Why? What do you mean why? Because I miss you. I miss us. Do you miss me? Or do you miss having control? I started crying. That's not fair. You asked me to follow a rule. I did. Now you're upset that I followed it too well. I didn't think you'd just give up. I didn't give up. I protected myself. He leaned back. Do you remember the night you came to my kitchen with your friends? I nodded, unable to speak. I was in the middle of the biggest night of my career. You made it about you, then punished me for setting a boundary in my space. Jake, I was wrong about that. And then your friends got in your head, convinced you I was the problem, and you believed them over me. The words came out broken. They said if you really loved me, you'd fight for me. I'm not going to beg for affection in my own marriage, Mia. That's not love. That's a hostage situation. Silence. Then quietly, my friends poisoned me. They made me think I needed to test you, control you. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid, you were insecure, and instead of talking to me, you let them turn me into the enemy. So what now? Do you want a divorce? The pause before he answered was the longest of my life. I don't know. My face crumbled. I need time to think about whether I want to rebuild this. Jake, please. I'm not saying no. I'm saying I need to decide if I can trust you again. We're roommates until I figure it out. The BBQ competition the next weekend was torture. I showed up uninvited, stood at a distance watching Jake with his team, Marcus, Dev, Tony, laughing, completely in his element. A woman approached him, early 30s, chef's jacket, confident smile. That brisket is insane. You taking applications for your team? Jake grinned. Always looking for talent. They talked, easy and warm, and I watched him be the version of himself I'd fallen in love with, just not with me anymore. He glanced over, saw me, nodded politely, then went back to his crew. I stood there alone, understanding finally I was an outsider in his world now. That night, he came home and found me on the couch. You came to the competition. I wanted to support you, like I should have months ago. It meant something that you came. Small thaw. I grabbed onto it. I'm starting therapy, not telling anyone or posting about it, just for me. That's good. And I blocked the group chat. I can't listen to them anymore. He studied me, weighing whether I meant it. That's a start. Is there a chance? For us? Maybe. But I'm not promising anything. I nodded, accepting the crumbs because I'd destroyed the meal. He stood to leave, then paused. Mia? Yeah? I did love you. The you before all this. If she comes back, we'll talk. He left me with that. Not a promise, not a rejection, just possibility. That hurt worse than certainty. Later, I imagined him in the guest room, looking at his phone. Maybe seeing a text from Marcus. Maybe from Chef Sarah. Maybe from no one, because he didn't need anyone anymore. He'd found peace without me. And I was left in our bedroom, alone with the consequences of listening to people who'd never had what we had and didn't care about protecting it. The worst part? I still didn't know if Jake would let me earn him back, or if he'd already decided I wasn't worth the effort. Alright, that's it for this story. Ashley, what's your take?
Okay, so first of all, her friends are insane. But also, I kind of get how she got in her own head about the whole thing. Still, though, she really nuked her own marriage. That's wild.
Nuked is the right word, but let me ask you this. Do you think Jake's being too cold at the end? Like, should he have just forgiven her when she finally admitted she was wrong?
Okay, see, this is where I actually think he's being completely fair. Like, she didn't just make one mistake, Matt. She embarrassed him at work, spent 3 months making him ask permission to touch his own wife, and then here's the part that really got me. When he literally sat down and tried to have an honest conversation, she told him he was pawing at her, and she's not that into him. That's genuinely cruel.
That line killed me, because up until that point, you could argue he wasn't fighting hard enough, but he did fight. He asked her directly what was wrong, and she threw it in his face.
Exactly. And then she wonders why he gives up. Like, girl, you literally told him you're not into him. What's he supposed to do with that?
Right, and here's what people miss. Jake's not the bad guy for withdrawing, that moment where he tries to talk and she lashes out. That's the turning point. That's when he realizes this isn't about boundaries, it's about control.
Yeah, and the friends are definitely the villains, but she chose to listen to them. She chose Becca's stupid, take away what he needs most advice over her actual husband who wasn't doing anything wrong.
Exactly. And the gym thing, people will say he's being petty, but that's not what that is. That's a man who finally got permission from his boys to stop shrinking himself. He starts working out the morning after she rejects him. That's self-preservation, not revenge.
God, the fishing trip scene was so good, though. When his friends ask, "When's the last time you felt like yourself?" And he can't even answer. That's heartbreaking. He'd been walking on eggshells for so long, he forgot what normal felt like.
And this is why Jake's response is perfect. He's not being vindictive when he uses her consent rule in the lingerie scene. He's showing her exactly what she created, a clinical relationship where intimacy is a weapon instead of connection.
That scene was brutal. You could feel her realizing she'd broken something that can't be fixed. He gave her exactly what she asked for, and it was somehow worse than if he'd said no.
because she wanted him to chase her, prove she had power. Instead, he found power in himself, and now she's optional. And the I did love you, the you before all this. That's perfect because it's conditional now. It's not even about her anymore.
Do you think he's gonna take her back?
I think he's already moved on internally. The therapy, blocking her friends, that's good, but it doesn't undo 3 months of being treated like the enemy. You can't unsay, I'm not that into you touching me. Even if they stay together, that marriage is never the same.
Yeah, she killed something. The real win here is Jake getting his life back. The gym, career success, his boys. He doesn't need her anymore.
Exactly. Sometimes the win is just a man choosing himself. Alright guys, if you made it this far, smash that like button and subscribe. See you in the next one.